Failure! Failure! You're still a failure! Failure! I can smell the failure! Failure!
In the eyes of Oshinoko fans right now, it has joined Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen as having a terrible ending.
I am shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
November the 14th, 2024 is when the official release date of the final chapter of Oshinoko will be released. But you know how this thing called the internet works? Because the final chapter was leaked online, and when they saw the conclusion of this story, people went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Why one of these fans went so off the rails that they actually took their manga volume, their physical copy of their manga volume, and set it on fire.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
So you know we have to show you what persons have said online about this final chapter. So here's what some people said, especially the last comment is the most mind-blowing of them all. One person said, after investing so much time in these characters, the conclusion feels underwhelming. Another person said, I'm struggling to process this ending. It feels like we've been left hanging. And this one is my favorite. That ending sucks. We all owe Jujutsu Kaisen an apology.
Emotional damage!
So of course this leaves us with the question, what is the problem with the final chapter of Oshinoko? Well, these are some of the reasons that were stated, and based on what I have seen so far, it's almost similar to Jujutsu Kaisen. So we have unresolved character arcs and relationships. Next, lingering plot holes and unexplained mysteries. A rush pace in the closing chapters and unsatisfying conclusion for fan favorite characters. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments. Do you agree with these points, or do we even have even more to add to that, why the ending of Oshinoko was unsatisfying? And while you're there, don't forget to, if you are enjoying the information, to hit the subscribe button. As you could notice, we talk about stuff that is going on in the anime and manga community, and we sprinkle in between it some kicks and giggles. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Do it!
So this leaves us with this interesting question. Why does this keep happening in mangas? Because as you mentioned at the beginning of this video, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, the endings of those mangas were not received very well. Everyone and their pet squirrel cried that the ending was terrible and bad. So why do these mangas keep having bad endings? So I did a little digging on Google, and it's interesting to know that I came up upon two interesting responses to this question, and it was a question, the same question was basically asked 2 years ago. Can you imagine that? Persons have been complaining about bad endings to mangas for the past 2 years, over the past 2 years now. So let's look at these two interesting responses, and again, which one do you agree with? And I would love to hear your comments about why you think manga have this problem, or so-called problem, to concluding their series. So it says, endings are hard. The reality is that an overwhelming majority of stories, regardless of the medium, are credited with having bad or underwhelming endings. It's especially more prevalent when the story is more grander in terms of content and world building. You can't make everyone happy. The vocal minority can and will exaggerate how bad the ending actually was, which form narratives, and recency bias is a hell of a drug. Next we have this point. It isn't nowadays, it's an always thing. It's a trend in Japanese storytelling that the endings aren't really as important. A trope doesn't feel like the right word, so let's say like a known stylistic indicator of Japanese fiction is open-ended, ambiguous, or vague endings. endings without resolution transient. The focus of much of Japanese fiction is on the journey itself. Solid, resolute endings where everything is paid off, answered, and rewarded just isn't really as important a thing. It's a focus in more Western culture stories for sure, but our values are different. A long time ago, I read a really interesting article on this that talks about the differences in history and spirituality views on death, which may contribute to how the Japanese culture places the value in story structure and endings. Now I'm more in line with the comment or the Reddit comment that was made before. Endings are, as the person rightfully said, are really hard to stick the landing. Because, and the reality is that not everybody is going to perceive something equally the same way. There were some persons who will perceive it as bad, and there will be some that perceive it as good. And the reality is, yes, it's true. There is such a thing as a bad ending. There is such a thing as a good ending, but it really honestly fits or comes down to the person receiving the information and how they view the ending in their own minds. But it's really challenging and it's really hard to stick on the end of a well told, that's a good phrase to use, well told story. So yeah, that's my opinion on that point. But before we wrap up everything, because people need to remember that soon there's another manga that will be ending soon, and what we are talking about is Vinland Saga. Based on the mangaka's comments, he mentioned that he will be wrapping up the story in a couple of chapters. So it's possible that this manga could come to a conclusion in the end of this year, 2024, or early 2025. So of course this leaves us with the question, do you think that Vinland Saga will have a good ending, or will it follow the so-called trend that is taking place with Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, and now the new kid on the block, Oshi no Ko? Will it follow the trend of those mangas and have a bad ending? Let us know in the comments. So a lot of people were upset about the Oshi no Ko final chapter ending, and the bad ending, but they were also upset by this recent news article that is coming up on your screen right now, where the United Nations is having this interesting war on anime and manga. So I encourage you to check it out. And don't forget, in order for you to access that video, you have to click on the subscribe button. So that's it. Go on.